So our top 5 for the week is the strength events. Our top 5 strength events ever programmed at the CrossFit Games. I went through
You did a good job.
all 15 years of going through a strength event and kind of recapping what happened, linked to all of the YouTube videos out there. So if you are interested in watching and kind of going back and seeing what we're talking about, or just curious to know what happened in 2009 or something like that, it's all there. So it took forever to kind of go through and capture all of that, but we are going to go through our top 10, which or top 5.
Full screen it, Brian. Thank
What's
you.
that?
Goodness.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry. And so we looked at our top 5 strength events at the games. Surprisingly, Tyler followed the rules this time. So there are no regional or semifinal events in here. It wasn't an off-season competition. So
I thought about it so hard. What was it?
I almost picked one rep max thruster.
It was the snatch with Sam Dancer. I was like, maybe I should just throw that in there just to piss John off.
Well, right after I did all of this, of course, YouTube starts throwing up all these different events, and I see the 1 rep max snatch from the Invitational where Froning crushed it.
Oh yeah. That was so cool.
That'd been a good one that Tyler could have thrown in there to mix it.
I would have done just strength events, period. Any competition, every CrossFit competition.
Yeah. But it was interesting to look at this because I had never really tallied what's been used, how often these things have been done. And so snatch was 6, a clean was 6 times. I think the clean and jerk's been 3. And then the deadlifts by itself was only 2, but then you add in the total and CrossFit it goes up to 5. Yeah.
And then the COVID games year, they were really heavy handed with strength that year. I was like, wow, that was a bold move.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. It had me start thinking about, the sandbag was obviously a completely different thing that we had ever seen before. It starts making you think how do we start changing this up? It's been 15 years and you've seen all the speed ladders. You've seen all of these kind of iterations that's kind of grown on it. I don't want to say it's played out, but we've seen it before. So
what if we had a pig ladder?
That'd be cool.
And you just had 5 pigs and they got heavier and heavier. And then at the very last heat, it was an ungodly amount of pig weight.
Be hard to, yeah.
Yeah. There's only been, I guess, technically 2 events that didn't have a barbell: the chest to bar, the max chest to bar that used kettlebells, and the sandbag. So there are a lot of similar answers on this, but we'll go through.
Yeah, the list wasn't very big.
No.
Yeah, there were some, but
I'm gonna like the reasons why we picked what we picked. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I think those will definitely be different. So number 5,
that's so
the 1 rep max. All of us.
That's so funny.
So yeah, all of us picked the 1 rep max overhead squat. John, I'll start with you. What made you pick this one?
Well, there was a lot of hype for this one going into it. If you were around 2014, I think Hackenbrook called he was just going to do 400 before the game started. We knew about this event before the game started, and there was just a lot of hype over it. And the fact that Fraser and Froning tied, that's kind of cool. Everybody went for 400 and nobody's close. If one person would have just said, "Hey, I'll go 480," and then they would have won easily. But nobody did. I think Fraser was probably the closest to 400. I don't think Froning even jerked it up there. Maybe he jerked it up there and then wavered.
Yeah, he got
Hackenberg wasn't close either. But there was just a lot of fun things. This one was more fun than a typical go down the line, everybody max out event.
I love. Go ahead, Spin.
I liked it definitely for the reason of all these guys were trying to go for 400, and that was exciting outside of just the placement of everybody. But the overhead squat, it's a slower lift, and it builds that anticipation of, can you get it overhead, especially when it gets the heaviest. And then just that descent is slower. And then when they get it, right? Like you see that it's like coming out of a snatch, same thing, but that descent gives you more build up to it. They kind of it created a lot more anticipation, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I love the thing that I loved about it. I always like imagine being these athletes, and from football, I love being under the lights, like on Friday night, it's dark, and that they had that sort of mystique that year. And then like the glances between Hackenbrook and Froning and Fraser, it was like, you don't really get that much anymore. And that one was unique in that they were doing that year, but it was just so cool. It was so well filmed. It was so well like programmed. I loved everything about that event. It was awesome. I would have loved to compete in that event, like as an athlete.
Yeah, that was definitely a very cool one. Number 4. So I threw the ranch deadlift ladder in there. Some comments here. The deadlift ladder was cool at the ranch, but probably boring live. I somewhat can see that. It was cool in the fact that Dancer ended up lifting what he did with a broken fibula. That was nuts. And both he and Brooke finished the ladder, which was cool. I just thought that was a cool event, just going back to the ranch 10 years later. The event itself, again, watching live, it was probably better that it was at the ranch and on a live stream than it was in front of a crowd. But I thought that was kind of an interesting thing as well, as to see how far they had come in 10 years. Back then it was, they were still making leaps and bounds year after year, which was pretty wild.
Oh
yeah. John, the
crazy
muscle
to think. It's crazy to think that was so long ago. I mean, it felt like that happened like just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's
7 years ago, man.
7 years in Madison.
You were in college,
which is crazy.
Yeah. Brian was still out of college.
I was out of college for a while, for a long time. Very, very much.
It's cool that only one person finished the ladder too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what Dave wanted. And I feel like when you program, if you guys program for your gym at all, you'll know how this feels. But like when you program a workout and it goes exactly how you wanted it to go, it's a very satisfying feeling. And I feel like that probably happened with Castro in this event.
Yeah. And you saw that throughout. Like as I'm going through this and you're looking at it, like some of these ladders, either he didn't program enough weight, which happened in the Sandbag. It happened in 2019, I think it was, with the clean for the women.
Yeah.
Or they don't get to the final, barbell, and that's kind of always a little bit of a letdown. So,
2009, I think 23 guys cleared the ladder.
Yeah.
At 5:05 or 5:15, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. 2017, the muscle up clean ladder, John. I had forgotten about this one. I was there at the games. That was a really cool event to watch in person.
Well, it must have not been that cool. You forgot about it.
It wasn't my top 5, but it was a very cool event to watch.
I like that. This is the heaviest weight that there's ever been in a workout, like while they're actually doing other things. It ended at 2 cleans at 350. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was cool to see who could power the longest. So like there's a couple cool things. Like Fraser kind of ran circles around everybody, but Tia power cleaned all the way through 235. And she had squat cleaned the last clean of 235, but she power cleaned that first one. So she like power cleaned the whole thing, and nobody else could do that. She was the only one. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, oh my God, like how does she? And she's a little girl, she's not this big thing. She's not like
she's not
Amanda Barnhart.
Not Danny Spiegel trying to eat the barbells. She's this little thing that's just doing things nobody else can do. So And I thought that was pretty darn neat. I just really like this event. Like Tyler said, he wishes he could do the overhead squat event. I would like to do this event. I'd love to.
This event would be really cool to do. Yeah,
I'd love to see where I could kind of stack up against people in this particular event. It just seems very fun to do.
Yeah. The total, Tyler. I remember that when this was announced, it was pretty cool because there had been years of people calling for, we want the total, and we finally got it.
I want the other total.
I like both of them. I loved the other total in the quarterfinals.
That should be a shirt.
Barbells. Girls who eat. But anyway, so yeah, this one, I liked how it played out. I think that was good. But I'm also, this just comes from like a data nerd perspective. Like, I love being able to know these numbers on the athletes. Back squat, deadlift, press.
I would 100% agree. I almost put the 1 rep max front squat from 2020 because it was finally like a concrete number. If you can do this, you're the strongest, one of the strongest people in CrossFit, or you don't have to work strength anymore. This is the number that you need to hit. And like front squats, such like a brute strength, but like total Olympic strength too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with you. I love knowing the exact numbers. This is how strong you need to be.
We have 14. We have between 12 and like 15 events each year. I think there should be 3 workouts a year that are measuring sticks.
I want a mile time. I want a 1 mile time trial. Either everybody goes at once or release them 2 minutes after each other. Like I would love that.
Yeah, I love it. It's for that reason. And we learned so much about the athletes this year and how crazy it was that they could do these lifts back to back to back. I mean, it was great. So yeah, it was okay visually. It wasn't like the number 5 was, I think, way better visually, and the story was more cool than this. But I think from what we learned about CrossFit as a sport, I think this was better. Show me up, John. Right in the middle of talking. I can't compete with that.
This is Pogie.
Look at that guy.
He's the one who barks all the time. He wanted attention.
That's a bad dog for sure.
Wad Zombie. It's a family show. That gentle choke during front squats. Keep it clean there, Nick.
That face, that emoji's really good. I like that one.
I mean, that's well placed emoji, Wad Zombie.
Yeah. Not only that, like as far as emojis go, that one's really well decorated. That looks good.
I mean, Fraser almost fainted. Like he kind of almost passed out when he was doing that event.
Yeah.
And then Sammy was like, "Don't worry, it's not his first time."
He passes out all the time.
All right, number 3. I have the 1 rep max snatch from 2017. This one, I don't know if you remember. So they got 2 attempts, the top 10, then it got to advance to get 2 more attempts. The women's side, Alessandra Pacelli misloaded her barbell. Everybody thought she had done 207. And then she had, and what's funny is I went back and watched it, and it might have been Chase, at least whoever was commentating was like, it looked uneven. Like the bar was.
Yeah, it goes up crooked.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it was obviously because there's 5 pounds less on the barbell. And then like Cassidy Lance McWhorter hit 3 PRs in a row. So like she hit 191 and ended up hitting 200, I think, for her 3rd PR. So 3 in a row.
That just means she doesn't go heavy enough in training.
Maybe, but it was still cool to watch. You had Sarah Sigmund's daughter out there. It was Kara Webb at the time competing.
She snatched 205?
203.
203, yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah got 202. Sarah went for like 206.
She went for 206 and missed. And that's why Alessandra thought she was going for 207 because I think she saw 206.
202. And then Carr did 203 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just an awesome. I liked the pressure of you have 2 lifts the first time, but then it gives them another chance to even go heavier. Now that they've secured a top 10. I think there was another 1 rep max before there was only 2 attempts. And so it didn't give them that opportunity to kind of go for it. Like they had to play a little bit safe the first one, and then they had 1 shot to go for it. This gave them, third and fourth attempt. So that was a pretty cool event to watch. We'll skip John for a second. Ranch deadlift ladder 2016.
Yeah.
Any reason you have it?
This one, another measurement thing here. I think a lot of, and it was nostalgia too, because it's like we'd done that before. They were showing, old clips of the ranch back in the day. Sam Dancer doing what he did, and then Brooke doing what she did. Is just incredible. I will say, it probably wasn't as cool if you were there. There's no way it was, but it was just.
I think Ken's probably right. The documentary probably made that, but it's still cool nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never be able to make a highlight reel for the remainder of CrossFit and not include a scene from that in it.
Yeah.
It's just too cool.
Yep.
So,
all right, back to you, John. The Sandbag ladder of 2022.
Yeah, I
guess
you guys go ahead.
Most people would probably put it higher. I know we did. So why number 3?
I mean, it was very exciting. Am I down arguing it because y'all have it higher?
No, I just
about
like obviously you'll be able to say what your number 1 and 2 were that of the reason. But was there anything that you didn't like about it, or was it just that you liked the other 2?
I mean, when you watch the end of it makes it okay. Jacqueline Dahlstrom and her little body struggling to get it up, and she freaking does it time after time and time. Like that made it. Justin being the only one to do it like technical, and then he probably got so much further than he should have in that event. But that's what makes Justin. And he, did really well in that. Ricky having more chalk than a substitute teacher on his body. Like a lot of things made the Sandbag ladder what it was. But for about 40 minutes of it, it was very boring to watch. And then it got really, really exciting at the end of it. And I don't know, you're just picking up a bag, man. It was exciting, but I just don't think, like what Tyler said, that's not really a measurement of strength that I can base anything off of. It's kind of like a backyard thing, like, hey, let's see who can pick this up. Let's see who the last person is that can pick this up. And there is something cool to that, but I didn't get all the feels the way everybody else got. I thought it was cool, and y'all probably picked it because it's not a barbell, it's unique, and it is. But I like strength events that you can do. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to go do it, or I want to recreate it. You know what I mean? Like,
but you can't do that.
No, you can't.
You can.
I'm not about
this is analogous.
A 340-pound sandbag, Tyler. I'm not going to spend $500 to fill up
it's
a bag.
Not with sand is so cheap, John.
That I'm going to pick up one time and never do it ever again. I'm not going to go do that, Tyler. And then I got to go do that with 330, 320, 310, 300. No,
you can't pick up a 300-pound sandbag.
I will bet you anything. If we go to a 300-pound sandbag, I will pick it up, and it'll be the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. And you're going to have to go do whatever. Okay? Colton Mertens almost picked up that 300-pound sandbag. If I'll do it without even warming up.
It's called country boy strength, John.
You ain't got it, John.
Anyway, I did not get all the feels that everybody else got from it. It is very cool. It's my number 3.
That's right, Alyssa.
Yeah. A bunch of heavy rocks. That's all it takes. You could do the strongman where they put the little metal loops on the stones.
Oh, the Denny stones.
That's a little bit different because that's grip strength. And look, I got these tiny hands. Okay, my hands are not very big. They're not. And that grip stuff where you gotta hold on to something heavy, like I'm not very good at that stuff. Relative.
Just pick it up and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, if I get my arms around it, get some momentum, use my other muscles, like we're good to go.
Yeah, I do think, and we talked about this on Savon this past Friday, was like the tiebreakers just are never there. And I would,
And the
the
tiebreak for
sandbag.
that event was pretty trash. Like, I don't know what you do, but like,
You let them tie. That's what you do. There ain't
you know, you
nothing
let
to
them
do.
tie, or the fastest to clean it, like y'all said before.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not as good as the other two for me. It's still number 3.
Yeah.
It's still the 3rd best strength event of all time for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. All right. Number 2. John and I have the squat clean pyramid from 2016.
How did this one work again?
It
So
was
you got 10 cleans at 245, and then you got 8 cleans at 265, and
That's
then 6
right.
cleans at 285, and then 4 cleans at 305, and then 2 cleans at 325, and then that's it.
I remember this. Yeah.
but you had 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes.
If you didn't make it in the time cap, you got cut.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you had a certain amount of time to get through each of those stages. Which I was surprised Fikowski got stuck way far back. Like he did
That was
not
his
do
rookie
well.
year, man.
Yeah.
And you have to squat clean.
Mhm.
Clean. He's got a very good power clean. When you got to squat it, and that was his first year making it, he wasn't very strong then, man. It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of volume on the legs by the end of it.
Well,
Yeah.
but like Josh Bridges, if you go watch Josh Bridges in this event, he makes one of these cleans that he has no business making. I promise you.
He cleaned it on his.
That's the mashed potatoes clean. Yeah.
Both of his arms broke, and then he somehow made them unbreak and got back to here. It's probably the ugliest clean of all time, and like successful clean of all time, and that includes high school football. Okay, like man, I'm really happy that he hit it. But what's fun about this
Don't ever
one
do that
is
again.
Alex Anderson won this. And Matt Fraser was second, and it was just really cool for somebody to beat Fraser in this. I just wouldn't pick anybody to beat Fraser, but you know, Alex Anderson was like, "I'm good at this. I'm gonna show you how good I am at this." And Cara killed everybody in this.
She ran away with it.
Like killed everybody. I wasn't close, and it was.
Oh yeah, this is the one that they'll try to face her off. Like they'll do the female weight, and you still can't beat her.
Yeah. Like this was 2 dominant people that weren't like, you know, it's not like Rich or Tia or Matt, like 2 dominant people in things they're good at killed this event. And then there was just, I really liked the event. It's CrossFitty. I think strength events are a bit outplayed as far as like max outs. They have to be there. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have max out events. But as far as like this is it. Like, you know, I like CrossFit events better than strength events.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
because you had, you know, it was a race, but it wasn't the ladder where you had, you know, if you have 1 no rep, you're toast. You had to be strategic through it. It was more than just pure strength. There was some strategy on what you did on the first barbell. And yeah, the feels of when you watch Josh Bridges clean that thing, like that was wild. And to see him, I mean, it's down on his biceps. Like I don't even know how he could do that.
Yeah, he's like reverse.
His arms broke.
Yeah.
And then he Wolverine healed them mid clean.
Yeah, that was Bridges was underrated. I'm not sure that he was ever underrated. He was fighting for the podium, or at least we felt like he was going to quite a few years. So
yeah, I was always bummed. He was always just out of reach.
It was always him and Spieler that you were like, come on, man.
He got second.
How could you figure this out? Yeah. But like
way back when, but you know.
But
then he
Spieler
had to go off to war and he missed a year.
Yeah, Spieler and Bridges were this every year. It's like, come on, can you guys figure out a way to get through a strength event unscathed or not hurt too bad to take advantage of the other events and be up there?
It was like that year. What was it? 2015. He hit that snatch in regionals, and that was like the most hope I had for him. And then
I think that was this year as well.
What do you mean?
I think it was 2016, the snatch.
Oh, was it?
Because that was the same year that Fikowski made it his first year.
Well, yeah.
And Fikowski did really well in that event, or the snatch from regionals.
So
Yeah.
2016, if I remember right, they had the snatch pyramid in regionals.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah,
though,
that's what I'm
it was
talking
a
about.
PR for him.
Yeah.
265
Right.
was a PR, and he hit it twice.
Yeah, Savon talked about it recently on a show with Josh.
Yeah. Tyler, clean and jerk ladder 2013.
So nostalgia starts to play into this. 2013 was the year that I was like, I want to be good at CrossFit. 2012, I started doing CrossFit. I was inspired, but yeah.
Definitely true.
But 2013 really turned me on to it. And it was something so cool about the gravitas of like, they had all those platforms out on that field. And you slowly just went through and watched people drop off. Now, visually, now we would probably hate it because everybody was kind of cleaning at the same moment. But it was so cool to see like who missed. And then at the end of it, it was like Lucas Parker, Rich Froning, and
Khalipa.
Well,
Khalipa.
Lucas was done by then, so it was just Rich and
it was
the
Rich
only
and
problem,
then
it was Rich and Khalipa. Lucas
Asia
Parker and Richard
Bartow.
Bartow were done, but they were ahead.
Yeah. And so it was just it was so amazing to watch that. It was in the middle of the day, it was hot. And so
Those
there's
jerks were like some of the trashiest jerks I've ever seen in my life. Just man push pressed it.
And that was the first time too. It was like they had started to play with that sort of like not interval style weightlifting, but like a ladder. And it was a new thing that we were still trying to figure out how to write CrossFit workouts back then a little bit. And this was a new sort of strength format. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And so it was like after that, you would see like you would come in the gym and people would have like processions of like 8 barbells, and you were like, dude, why the fuck did you get this many barbells out? And it's like it's really fun to do until you have to clean it up.
Put them away.
No, you need a crew. You need a crew for a ladder.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of it for me. Mike McGoldrick was there that year. Matt what's his name? The firefighter. Matt Chan was still there. Like this was the changing of the guard year, where it was like we saw the last of the old guys and the first of the new guys. So it was just there was a lot in that event for me.
They gave him like 90 seconds to do this too. Like they gave him a ton of time. And
I mean, Rich tried 4 times to clean his last clean.
Yeah. And I remember like part of it when you're watching, you see him turn around and just watch Khalipa behind him lifting. Like, you know, it was like, are you able to do this? Are you going to follow me? Like, because you had so much time, you could actually kind of sit there and watch their reactions to the lifts.
Watch Khalipa do god awful jerks like 3 times in a row. It's like there's no way you can get that overhead, and then he did. I wonder.
There's also, I think it was Ben Smith's first catch and bounce jerk that he does.
Yes, that was so cool. And I remember practicing that so much after watching that. It was like I was like, that's so amazing. Like boom, boom. But it's weird. Do you think that that's solely because Rich was that way? Like he would watch people because then we had that in the overhead squat workout, that sit and stare and kind of taunt dudes that you were going against. Like we don't really see that anymore. Do you think that's just him, or do you think that was the type of athletes that they were back in the day, the sort of community they had then?
I think it's you didn't see anybody doing that but Rich. So like I think it's who's winning. Because like Fraser would do that. Fraser would finish the workout, sit on the ice bucket, and wait for you to be done. You know what I mean? And when Medeiros is 5th and everything, he's not finishing first.
He doesn't have time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not looking to see what everybody's doing. He's pacing perfectly.
Right.
And so like I think it's just a product of who's winning at the time.
How Rich competed. Yeah, because his thing was I need to get right out ahead of you and watch you. Yeah.
Well, I think if Ricky were to win the games, I think we'd see that from Ricky.
Yeah.
I think we would see that from Roman if they weren't like chasing people and went in in the driver's seat. But the only problem I have with this event is that like it made it look like Rich was the winner because he's the last one lifting because they went out by order.
Yeah.
That's how they used to do things. And like Asia Bartow and Lucas Parker both beat him. He didn't. And also the numbers weren't very good. Like, you got to think, Rich failed to clean and jerk 345, right? I think he failed to clean. He failed to clean 345.
Yeah, I think so.
He couldn't stand it up. He got under it and then
couldn't
couldn't
stand up 345. That's not very much weight. When you're the fittest man in the world, you're Rich freaking Froning. And I know he got stronger. But when 345, that's what wins the event. It's just, it kind of downplays it for me because it's not that impressive.
What was the event right before it?
The strength event but previous?
No, the actual event they did before this workout.
I don't remember.
That's a hard.
Yeah.
Call. You gonna effort it or you want me to?
I'll find it.
Well, I mean, you look at the
year previous, even Neil Maggs cleaned 365.
Yeah,
and he won the clean liner with 365. Like, and so I'm talking about the year previous. It's when have we ever seen strength go down? Yeah, it's just
what Neil Maggs doesn't qualify.
Well, yeah, but
Naughty Nancy, which is not a leg forgiving workout, nor a jerk forgiving workout.
345, you should be able to do more than that.
I'm just trying to give him a little bit of leniency.
The fittest man in the world.
And then they did the legless, the thrusters and rope climbs the night before, so their legs were smoked.
Yeah, they used their legs a lot on legless.
On the thrusters, you're doing like over
21, 15, 9 ain't that
27,
much.
27,
21, 15, 9 ain't that much on your legs. They're the fittest people in the world, Tyler. They're not you.
100 overhead squats is not going to make you sore.
Not sore enough to not stand up with 345.
All
right. Yeah. What was interesting was you look at the CrossFit total and like the what do you got?
I'm kicking my dogs out.
All right. When you look at
kicking his dogs,
when you look at the CrossFit total in 2007 and then the 2018 to 2020, like obviously 2020 only had 5 comparison points, but the men for the most part hasn't really changed on the total from the winter to 2020. So 13 years, the total didn't really change that much. It did improve slightly to 2018. Right. The women though, I can't remember who won, but she finished like 540 some odd pounds as the total. And then like Tia Brooke just obliterated it in 2020. So the women have definitely made this huge stride over time. The guys have gotten stronger from a technical standpoint, but I don't think from a brute strength, it's really changed. Like they've gotten better learning the Olympic lifts, but just doing deadlifts or squats, like it really hasn't changed that much.
Well, Jeanette and I talk about it culturally like we talk about it all the time about we've changed the way culturally how women feel and think about strength and what we actually think that the female human body is capable of. It's capable of way more than we thought. And I still think we have a little while to go before we really know. I still think like broad culturally speaking, like, yeah, we're more okay with women being strong now than we were, in 2013 when it was still really weird to see a jacked woman. But I think, as the population increases of women who want to be stronger, like we're just going to keep seeing stronger and stronger women.
Yeah. I think you see it with the percentages that we keep putting up there compared to the men. It just keeps getting the need to go up to 70% or 75% at some point. Like, where does that stop? Right. Like how close could you get? And I think that's what we'll see here in a little bit.
I can tell you how close we'll get. You want to know how?
Tell me.
So for the men, I just take this off of the Olympics. So if you take the
Okay.
80,
All right.
89 kilo guy in the Olympics, the guy who wins for
Mm-hmm.
89 kilos, it's right around 500 pounds on the clean and jerk. So for men, it's 100 pounds less. Men are usually just right at 100 pounds less on the clean and jerk and the snatch of what the best ever is. What's crazy is that equals 80%, which is pretty cool. So if you take just the best in the world, and then if you take the
Mhm.
same for women, call it at the 150-pound class, okay? You know, whatever class is around 150, you see what the best in the world can do on the clean and jerk and the snatch. You take 80%. That's what the women equivalent will be for CrossFit, right? And that's what you could see. I'm pretty sure we're there with Tia. But
Do you think? I mean, Tia at the 80%. I mean, she's not at 80% when you look at the front squat. Which, granted, Griffin was the one that threw that one off. But
I'm
No,
talking
he's
just
comparing
Olympic
it. So he's
lifting.
not going male to female. He's talking about
Yeah.
when you're comparing it to weightlifters, weightlifter
Okay.
women to CrossFit women, it's at 80%.
got it.
Yeah. Male to female, though, I mean, like, to me, I've always thought it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about a deadlift, we might be able to push it up to, you know, whatever our percentage body weight is. So
I don't think you
a
can
little
do a
bit.
percentage on static lifts. I think it's just I like for like programming a workout, you just call it 70, 75 and you're fine. That's what the workout's going to be. But for like max outs, like what you should be,
Right.
deadlift is such a weird one where some people can just deadlift way more than they can squat. I don't think static lifts, I don't think you can do a set percentage. Women should be what men should be. Alex Kazan will skew it for the bench press because Alex Kazan can out bench press some of the men. Okay. Like static lifts, I don't think you can. Olympic lifts, you can almost perfectly at 80%.
Mhm.
I'm just talking about for Metcons. I mean, like, if you're going to create standards, it's like I think you
Sure.
could up that percentage for the women for anything that's lower body dominant. But I think for upper body dominant, I think it might be stuck around 65 to 70%. Like, I just don't think they're ever going to be. They just don't carry the mass. They're not built the same
Yeah.
that way, and that's okay. It's just, you know, we actually, like, TTT did a whole podcast on this. Like, we're not figuring out what that is. We're not talking about it anymore. We're just like 70%. It's like, well, does that make sense?
Man, Nick throwing out some Kazan beat out bench John. Man, no. John, that's
Can she
mean.
outbench you, Tyler?
Nope.
There we go. There we go. She can outbench Brian though.
I'm a masters athlete.
Friend, I wasn't talking about you.
Yeah,
Spin.
she can outbench me too.
Much more than that, Kenneth.
All right, number one. It's going to be a little anticlimactic. Tyler and I both have the sandbag ladder.
2019 clean. All right.
I did like that one. That was on my list of considerations. I have a reason why I didn't put it on there.
Yeah, it's not even on any of y'all's list.
No. So I like the sandbag ladder because it changed it up. It was different, and it was. I get all the points that John makes of why it wasn't number one for him.
Bye, John.
See ya. So no, I just liked the idea of it was different. It challenged the athletes. They probably weren't ready for something like that. You know, it was, hey, let's see how you can adapt to this in a strength-based workout. We've always done adapt to something new, and it's generally been gymnastics based. And this one was, let's throw a max lift in there. Welcome back, John. I thought you got mad at me for, not having the 1 rep max clean on my list.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
So, yeah, that was, I just like the uniqueness of it. I think Dahlstrom obviously stole the show. But yeah, I like seeing something different after 14 years of games strength events that
Snatch,
were
clean and jerk.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it was something different. It makes me hope that we see something cool next year or this year.
Yeah,
I
there was
don't
a
know why
lot of
they
that.
don't do more strongman events. There's a bunch of different strongman events they can do. I mean, I think you should still have like max outs, but like just another event be a let's see who can hold this freaking bag the longest or carry it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all types of strongman events you can do.
Oh,
Yeah.
and they're so functional. Like strongman has the most functional movements. Like I think it was Alyssa was saying, like, come pick rocks up at my house. It's like that's why I related to it. Like you live in Central Kentucky, you're gonna move rocks all day long. That's all we have is rocks. And it's like I grew up lifting heavy rocks. And so sandbag, I love the sandbag ladder for that reason, Spin, is because it's like it finally marked as like, okay, it's okay for us to do something new. I was so happy to not see a barbell. And John, I disagree with you. I guess maybe there's a bit of it because I was there. So I never felt bored. It was long enough. The break was long enough that you could sit there and you would chat. Like I was sitting there with Amanda Hari and some other folks, and we were like, "Who do you think will get it in this heat? Who do you think's going to get it?" And it was enough.
Hey, I lived in Kentucky for a while, girl. Just letting you know, Eastern Kentucky too. I lived in hillbilly world.
I skipped it. I went from Indiana down to Tennessee. I just bypassed it.
That's the no man's land. I was there, and so I don't think I've screamed that loud at any sporting event ever. As when I was
Who
when
did
like
you
Ricky and them.
for, Tyler?
Roman, Ricky,
Alexis.
Justin, Brent, Alexis, Jacqueline. It was so crazy watching them overcome, and it was that it never felt like they were battling each other. I mean, there was even that moment where Brent missed it, and he was like, "Go ahead, like I can't get it." It was man versus this.
I wish
just
Brent would have got
immovable
that
blob.
so bad. That last.
I did
I tell you
too.
what, if Brent would have got the last sandbag and we could have saw that moment instead of a 4-way tie, I might have put it up there.
Right.
So it's Brent's fault.
It was just so cool that they were battling the bag. They weren't battling each other. They were just and Ricky had terrible form on it. He looked like he didn't look as smooth as everybody else, and he just still battled it up. And then same thing with Justin had an entirely different technique from everyone, and he still did really well. And then Jacqueline, like, how long can you just sit and hold your breath and battle a sandbag? So
Alyssa said it was exciting because she didn't know who was going to win versus like a max snatch event. I don't know if you didn't know who was going to win. Like, I think everybody knew, especially after the first couple lifts, that Guy and Danny were so far ahead of everybody. But beyond that, you didn't know who was going to, you didn't know for sure who was going to do well and who didn't.
yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. Like we've seen most of these people on their Olympic lifts and have a pretty good idea of where they'll finish. And so this was different from that standpoint.
Actually, Alexis let me down in this one. I remember picking her in her heat, and she didn't do very well.
I wish Colton would have done a little bit better. He was almost squat cleaning the sandbag. So
I know.
If he somehow could have like made that work for him and like he just could get under it, like it would have been really fun. Like he got up to like 310 or 320 or something like that. It would have been really, really, really fun.
Was it Hopper that took 45 seconds on one and still didn't make it?
Yeah.
That
was another pick.
Cole Sager took 45 seconds on every single one.
And he kept doing it, and he kept going.
I was like, there's no way Hopper doesn't kill this workout. He's a big athlete. His arms are freakishly long. He has big hands, and then he didn't do that well. And I was like, damn it.
What are you talking about? He got fourth.
After all those ties, though, like he didn't win it. And I was like, I wanted him to like just dominate everybody on that event. I thought he had the capacity.
Yeah. I think what was also cool is how they got just so sore after it. Like they were not used to that type of soreness of lifting a sandbag for max and being under tension for so long. Like I remember hearing so many of them say like the next day, like they were hurting.
Yeah. When you lift a 350-pound barbell, you're not with it that long.
Yeah. Yeah. The time under tension was so much longer.
Unless you're Dave Castro in a deadlift.
Yeah.
Right. Nice call, John. That's good.
And the 1 rep max clean from 2019. What made you? It's got to be Frazier and
Yeah,
Patrick.
it's simply a Frazier thing, man. I mean, y'all both know I'm a Frazier guy. And like this was probably the worst year of all of his years. Like up to this point, like he had a 2014 like Rich Froning. Rich Froning 2014 was terrible. But I mean, instead of walking, or like up until he turned it on, I'm saying like it just wasn't going good for him. And then, but instead of walking, it's a sandbag that falls out of his backpack through no fault of his own. Gets called a cheater all throughout the internet for running 100 meters without one of these sandbags.
There's no way he would have done as well with that sandbag.
And then he gets docked a minute. So he went from like 6th to 19th. Like it's crazy how far he got docked for that. And like, no, he's never in like that year. And Tyler might feel differently because he's trained think tank. You can tell me feel differently, Tyler. It should not have been close. And it was almost geared for Matt to lose. Like the way it was so many weird things were happening. And then like the way everybody that was good got cut except Noah and BKG, like the top 3, and then it was a bunch of people who probably shouldn't have been there that got there because of the 6 events, 7, that were there before. Had the max clean event been before the cuts from on the top 20, I think half of that field changes, and they would middle Noah on almost all of the events. They would middle Noah.
No, I don't disagree. I delete 2019 and 2020 from my mind. It's just there's so much wrong with those seasons.
They're still there. You just got to know what you're talking about. You're talking about a different games. They're still there, but you got to talk about a different games.
Yeah.
I'll never take away Noah's second place, but we all know that second place is in 2019. It's fine. It's just it is what it is. But the whole time, everything has gone against Matt. Like he couldn't have been dealt a worse hand than he was in 2019. And then the clean event, which I mean, I get he's kind of the only strong one left. I mean, Scott's there, but everybody lifted way more than I think anybody would have thought. Like Noah hit 365, and he wasn't very strong back then. I know he's gotten stronger since, but I didn't expect him to hit that. BKG hit 365. Munweiler hit 370. Panchik hit 375. And then, like, that look y'all talk about, like Rich just looks at Khalifa and you get goosebumps. Well, Frazier's doing the same thing with Scott Panchik. Scott Panchik is sitting on the bench looking scared because he doesn't want to touch 380. He's like, gosh, I really don't want to touch.
Probably because his knee was an inch from exploding.
I heard him say this. He was like, man, I really don't even want that 380 to be touched in my hand. And then Frazier's just, I mean, come bring it. Like, it doesn't matter. And then he hit it. The whole crowd got super loud. It gave me goosebumps watching him. I like seeing dominant people be dominant in things that they are really, really good at. And I was very happy for Matt in that moment, because through no fault of his own, it was like the games was against him that year until after the 1 rep max clean.
It was like kind of like when you think about the Open, right? And you have all these people in there, and the point system was so messed up that like you weren't going to get much advantage doing well in first cut, second cut. And like,
which you should have. Those are CrossFit events,
right?
And like they're a little bit like you got to be really good to be good at those events. The first cut event, to win that, for that event to not be worth the same amount as a sprint is ridiculous. Like just straight up ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you could take 30th and just be 30 points behind, I think is what it was. Like there was no difference. Like it just didn't matter, right? Versus you do shitty, take 30th and second cut, you get less, it's a bigger gap. So that whole thing, like the way the order of everything was, and that was a huge discussion point, was the way that the order of events were, like it changed who made it. And you see that in the top 10, you're like, those are not top 10 athletes.
And then
You
you
think
also
that-
had a battle with Tia and Barnhart too. When
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Barnhart's
was
power
cool.
clean in 225 and it looks like 135, the crowd audibly gasped.
Yeah.
So like it's rare when you have a battle for the women and the men both together in a strength event. Like Danny Spiegel, we all knew she was going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a battle with Dee in the sandbag ladder. I mean, we had 4 guys in the last sandbag. So it was very exciting on the men's part. Danny Spiegel, we just watched her just eat the sandbag. I'm going to keep on referencing stuff like that. I like doing that.
This is interesting to think about. And I never really thought about it like this, because 2019 and we'll throw out 2020 entirely. I mean, it was a salvage job, right? But 2019, the wheels started to get really wobbly as far as like programming and like style of like how we were doing things. Do you think that is because of like, I don't want to say Dave's boredom, but like sometimes you perfected something and now you're starting to touch it too much. Like you're putting accents on it you don't need to. You had a thing that worked. You know what I mean? Or do you think it was for other reasons?
I think if there was 40 men and 40 women in 2019, it would be one of the better games that we've had.
Yeah.
I think the reason it's so jacked up is because of how it was.
The countries.
And like Dave was operating with his hands tied behind his back. And I think he did the best job he could. Same with 2020. If you don't want to count 2020 because it's 5 people, I get it. But 2019, if it's 40 men and 40 women, and let's say they cut by the end of Saturday, they cut to 20. Kind of like what they do now. Like what they did now, they let them do 9 events, and then they cut 10 people, then they cut one more time to 20, right? And then the last 20 do the last day or last 2 days, however they do it. But it was 10 events, and then they cut to 20. So they say they do that in 2019. I think it's one of the better games that we have.
Mhm.
Yes, Matt still probably wins comfortably, but just seeing the performances, I think it would be much more lauded than it is now just because of how it was.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It was, if you would have put the top 20 athletes that we think were top 20 in 2019, the one rep max clean would have been easily in the top 5, probably top 3 for sure. Because he would have thrown some other of those just super strong guys in there that you didn't get that opportunity. So it made me think about what might be on tap for this year and what I would kind of like. I mean, I hope there's something that's not another, no barbell again. So I don't know what that looks like. I think there's so many options with strongman that they could do.
I'd like a barbell max out event, but then there also is some strongman
A brute strength,
implement
Yeah.
like funky thing. You know how cool it'd be to strap everybody to a truck and let's see who pulls it the fastest. Like just something freaking random.
Yeah, that would be cool. Todd here has Gwen 15, 12, 9 of unbroken clean and jerks for load.
I don't think they can do that because it would be very, very hard to keep track of. That's hard to commentate on.
Right, and then like you're gonna do it by volume. That's I get what you're trying to go at, but we'd also see people screw it up on rep 12 and
I mean, I wondered.
And then you run into like judge decisions. They'll no rep you. Did you hear the no rep? Like, oh, his elbows aren't through enough. Like, it's just there's a lot of stuff that could go weird.
Wrong there, yeah.
Truck pull, Atlas stones, similar.
It'd be cool to do like a heat system with Atlas stones, like the clean and jerk, like a speed ladders. You know how they eliminate the top 20.
Yeah, Strongman has that. Where I think they did it at Rogue, where it's like they have like different heights. They have different heights and different weights of the stone, and then they have to get up, as far as they can down and as fast as they can. So it gets more and more difficult each time.
I don't think you should ever use stones, by the way, actual stones, for CrossFit.
No.
I think it should always be sand.
or the D balls. I don't know how heavy
Yeah.
the D balls can get, but
They can probably
Man,
make them heavy as they
D
want to make
balls.
them.
Have you all ever done like D-ball holds versus like sandbag holds?
So
They're
hard.
way harder. They're way harder.
Yeah.
I did a 150 2 or 3 weekends ago because we dropped in a gym and they didn't have regular sandbags and they only had a D-ball. I could barely hold the thing, and like I can sit for 2 minutes with a 150 no problem. I was like, what is happening?
No, I don't think holds are harder. I think cleans are harder.
Yeah. Especially if you start sweating, and I'm a sweaty mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those Mondo balls get
Thank you for those
slippery.
that details, Tyler.
Barry, thanks for joining. He has a bad read on John. He looks thrilled to be here. I think it was sarcastic.
I am thrilled to be
We
here.
had a good time, Barry. Do you think we'll ever see like a bench press 1 rep max?
Well, if the other total has bench press in it, it's a bench press, overhead squat, and a clean. I would love to see the other total in the CrossFit Games. I don't know how you would work it, but I actually save it for the year that I make it, because that's the year that I would want it to be there. Yeah.
Like there are freaks in the deadlift. There are freaks in the bench press too. There are people who are just like, you're just really good at it. I mean, me alone, I'm benefited by the fact that my arms are really short. I don't think I'm actually as strong as I can bench press, but I don't have to go far, so I'm pretty good at bench press. So
I think if you did bench press a lot in football, it's beneficial. Not everybody played football.
Right. I mean, that's all you do is press. You come off the line and you do a press. But I remember, you probably remember this during the team series. They did a 3 rep max bench press, I think, because Lauren Fisher, Josh Bridges, Rich Froning, and somebody else was on a team together.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Briggs.
A 3 rep would be cool.
They had a 3 rep max at Crash. That was one of the events.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was the event that they had 4 separate people. You chose which guy you wanted to do what, and I was our bench presser.
Because I think you can fake. You can't fake it, but like you can kind of get away with 1 rep. But like 3 is really like you're really testing how strong you are in 3. I think one you can kind of get away with in some ways. So
yeah,
depends how much you can pop it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pro sternum crush. Just launch that sucker. Break it if you have to.
Get the bounce.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Our top 5. So that was interesting. If you want to go check out the barbell spin, I have an article out there. You can go check out all of the strong strength events. I saw some comments on there about strongman sphere. I mean, there's
really
plenty.
There's
plenty of events that include a strength bias, but they were not a strength event.
Yeah.
Right. Last year's, what was it? The yoke and the 3 barbells.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but
back 9. I mean,
back
that's
9.
a strength
Back
event.
9.
Right. You had to be strong.
I thought of
right?
that event.
Yeah. Didn't include it because there was no you couldn't go beyond, right? There was no progression in weight or anything like that. It was just you just had to be strong to finish.
Do what was prescribed. Yeah.
Wasn't super exciting either. Like nothing crazy happened. I'll go to Crown of 1 comfortably, but it just wasn't a super memorable event.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, it's been a fairly quiet week, I think, other than getting kind of the official 4-year sanction for Angelique Conaway out of Africa on the team side. It's been fairly quiet.
You think because we haven't heard anything, that probably means somebody else has popped?
I think it means everybody is clean and we are doing great.
Cleanest sport that exists.
Jake Douglas, you have made it through.
I don't know if we're out there. We're out there yet. I have lobbed a question out to CrossFit to find out if they get a status update to see if they would share if they do have anything under appeal. So,
I don't want that to happen. I think it's good for Guy that he missed the games this year. If freaking Kaike pops and Gee gets in on backfill, I'm gonna be so like against Gee this year, and I don't want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't take it. I don't know. I could understand, but I would still be mad that I missed. And I don't know that I would. I think I would take self-punishment. Like when was it Lazar or Luca that didn't go? Yeah. It's like, no, I kind of deserve to be in the shed. Yeah.
I think he'd take it. I think he'd take it.
He'd take it. I think he would, but it just I don't think I would.
Yeah.
It's hard to say until you put yourself in that position.
Right.
I get it. You got sponsors, you got obligations.
Yeah. So I hope we don't see any more. It would just be better for the sport if we don't. But it's after seeing how many came in last year, we still have a good month before we're out of the woods.
Probably.
So
I would love it if Hiller found out first and started talking about people. It'd just be poetic.
What, Hiller started talking about people?
Yeah, start talking about people popping. Just like leak it before it's ready to come out. It would just be cool.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with Michelle. I mean, to some degree, right? She got ahead of the story before CrossFit could announce it.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see more of that. Is they're aware of it and they'll start sharing before kind of just going dark. Like kind of trying to share their side of the story versus just kind of hiding
the narrative. Yeah. Control the narrative.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much. That's it. We'll see you next week.
Yep. See you.
Bye-bye.